It is my pleasure to welcome you as the heads of diplomatic missions accredited to Malta for this New Year's exchange of greetings. I must also express particular appreciation to His Excellency, the Dean of the Diplomatic Corps, for his courteous greetings on behalf of all of you. Your Excellency, Apostolic Nuncio, let me now take this opportunity to congratulate you on behalf of all of us on your 20th anniversary since you were ordained bishop. This is the last time I will be addressing you as the President of Malta. Therefore, let me thank you for your cooperation and your collaboration over the past years. Let me begin my remarks by celebrating your many accomplishments, while also looking forward to a new year filled with new opportunities to encourage stronger connections between our authorities and our peoples. In the course of the past year, relations between the countries you represent and my country have been further consolidated through a variety of initiatives. These have included high-level visits between officials of our governments and also my various working, official and state visits to a number of your countries. These visits were an important opportunity for the social and business communities of our countries to come closer and to connect further. I am pleased to say that many of these connections are leading to tangible results for the mutual enrichment and shared benefits for our peoples. I believe that as experienced diplomats, you have the important responsibility to be the key stakeholders to create opportunities and initiatives which lead to peace and prosperity amongst our countries. You are also ideally placed to promote the mandate of the United Nations Agenda 2030 and its 17 Sustainable Development Goals. Agenda 2030 is a roadmap for the sustainable future of our countries, regions, and our world, as it fundamentally promotes equality and solidarity among our diverse peoples. As we all know, to successfully implement Agenda 2030, we must work harder and persevere together. I believe that your endeavors as ambassadors and high commissioners must be focused on the need that the world has to nurture equality and solidarity. Definitely, our world needs sustainable friendship and long-lasting alliances to pursue peace and prosperity for all. For these reasons, diplomacy is truly essential. While I am convinced that all of our countries will face their own particular challenges and opportunities in the coming year, however, there are also regional and global challenges that we will have to face. In this context, the upcoming European parliamentary elections will surely create an opportunity for Europeans to show what kind of institutions we aspire to have. As I stated last month during my Republic Day speech, in today's world, we are witnessing the results of what happens when governments abandon the social contract in favor of excessive profits. Unfortunately, there are millions of people in the member states of the European Union who are experiencing deprivation and who feel irrelevant because they have been cut off from the socio-economic and cultural life. People living in unequal societies not only lose hope in the established political class, but also resort for reassurance in populist ideologies. In such a situation, it would be useless for us to urge our peoples to disregard populism during the European elections. Social Europe is becoming more of an economic Europe. Data tells us that 1 in 4 Europeans is living in poverty and is thereby excluded from the social identity that used to make Europe so proud. I believe that there is so much for us to do, both within Europe and further afield, to build societies in which each and every individual is fully respected in their dignity and enjoys equitable access to opportunities to nurture their economic and social well-being. On the 10th of December last year, we celebrated the 70th anniversary of the Declaration of Universal Human Rights. This declaration, which has been of such importance for the world, is still an ideal guide for us to effectively build a more equal, equitable, and dignified world. Unfortunately, humanity is still far off from enjoying the full force of this declaration in order to make this inspiring document a reality for all of the members of our human family. In this context, I must mention the recent crisis that has been endured by 49 individuals and families, including 6 children and a number of unaccompanied minors on board 2 NGO vessels in the Mediterranean Sea. I must acknowledge that although Malta is the smallest member state of the European Union, my government still took the initiative to intervene. I must also thank the European Commission for its endeavors to bring together the 8 member states which have agreed to help in the relocation of these distressed people. However, let me take this opportunity to address you, in particular, the diplomatic representatives of my fellow European Union member states. How can we, as European nations of goodwill, have allowed the mental, physical, and emotional distress of innocent individuals to take place over such a long period of time? I must note that these sentiments of disillusionment in the effective implementation of our European values were expressed yesterday by Commissioner Dimitris Avramopoulos, and I quote, "Having 49 people on boats at sea for almost 2 weeks is not what the European Union stands for. The European Union is about human values and solidarity. And if human values and solidarity are not upheld, it is not Europe." These vulnerable children, women, and men, as we know, are fleeing from various difficult situations, some from war, some from extreme poverty, some from persecution and abuse, and others from the effects of environmental degradation. I urge you, in your capacity as ambassadors and high commissioners, to emphasize that human dignity, especially the dignity of the most vulnerable, should be the cornerstone of all of our endeavors. Wealth and economic prosperity mean nothing when we are still depriving people from their rightful and intrinsic human dignity. We must face the phenomenon of migration together, not in an ad hoc manner, but by sharing responsibility among European member states in a dignified manner and which respects fundamental human rights. Let me call upon all the member states, European member states, to live up to the ideals of solidarity and goodwill, upon which our union was established so many decades ago. I call upon all of our countries to make our commitment towards universal human rights a reality. When we speak of the importance of global peace, we also need to ensure that we address inequalities and injustices by implementing a global social solidarity approach. Such an approach is built upon our commitment towards human rights and achieving the Sustainable Development Goals of Agenda 2030. For this reason, I believe that 2019 must be a year where the international community does more to effectively implement Agenda 2030 and to address the social tensions and conflicts which are created and made worse by inequalities and injustices. All of our countries and regions must work together in synergy to ensure that justice becomes a reality in the lives of all the members of our human family. For example, the rapidly changing climate of our planet cannot be ignored due to the devastating effects it has on so many communities and in so many countries. I believe that we must promote environmental justice to encourage public and private stakeholders to shoulder their environmental responsibilities. We must also empower the nations which are being most directly affected by climate change and environmental degradation to effectively access their rights. Unfortunately, research shows us that some of the places which are being worst affected by climate change are in the global south, among communities that are already vulnerable. For this reason, I believe that we must encourage, promote, and support the empowerment of the African continent, not only in the area of environmental justice, but in terms of social and economic development. The peoples of Africa will become even more important stakeholders to secure global peace and prosperity in the coming decades. This not only is due to shifting demographics and expanding markets, but also for the dignity of the people of Africa themselves and the changing needs of Europe and other regions. Therefore, sustainably investing in the continent of Africa to create stronger social, cultural, and diplomatic connections will be essential to develop mutually beneficial and respectful relations. Let me also emphasize that no matter where we come from, all of our countries will benefit from peace, security, and stability in the Euro-Mediterranean region. This is why my country has always been a hub for peace and dialogue across both shores of the Mediterranean Sea. Peace in the Mediterranean directly leads to peace in Europe and throughout the world. Therefore, I firmly believe that we must continue to pursue Libyan unity and the restoration of Libyan sovereignty. Safeguarding the well-being of the Libyan people is an essential component in our efforts to stabilize the Euro-Mediterranean region and therefore to effectively combat terrorism and human trafficking. Your Excellencies, I would like to encourage you to continue to promote these objectives throughout your work as diplomats. In particular, I augur that you will focus on the environmental well-being of our planet, the promotion of intercultural dialogue as a source of friendship and enrichment among diverse societies, and the education and empowerment of our children and young people. Next November, we will celebrate the 30th anniversary since the United Nations Convention on the Rights of the Child was brought into being. This essential instrument, which was one of the most widely ratified human rights documents in the world, should be our focus to ensure that our children and young people are respected and given their rightful dignity. I believe that children are the experts of their own experiences. They are the future leaders of our countries and our world, and their views must be heard and respected. Moreover, investing in education among our younger generations is the best response to all forms of extremism and social unrest. Education is essential because it offers us a sustainable way forward to create a culture of peace and to face global challenges with a spirit of hope. On concluding, let me once again pledge that Malta remains firmly resolved to keep striving for peace and dialogue within the European Union, across our Euro-Mediterranean region, and throughout the world. Finally, dear ambassadors and high commissioners, as a last note, I would like to encourage you to be active and courageous, to help in the building of a world which embraces the values of social justice and human dignity, which will ensure inclusive prosperity. I believe that this is the kind of world which we owe to our future generations. Happy New Year to all. Thank you.